Good morning. From Two Wireless Security. This presentation will take just a cursory look at some of the wireless protocols and some of the security considerations, some of the risks involved with the wireless network, the wireless devices, and maybe one or two of the solutions. We can by no means have a comprehensive look in just a few minutes, but I hope you enjoy it. First of all, we'll look at some of the connection methods for wireless devices. Familiar with most, if not all of them. We all know what cellular is, a cell phone. We all know what Wi-Fi is. Anybody want to take a shot at ANT? What that is? Okay. It's a proprietary protocol. Whatever equipment we're using, and it's based on sensors that communicate with each other, similar to it's low frequency, similar to Bluetooth, and it's used to monitor your heart rate or while you're jogging, and maybe monitor. I had on a monitor here just a couple of weeks ago under my shirt. I don't know if it ran on that technology or not, and things of that nature. We don't know what infrared is. Mostly familiar with the TV remotes, it's used other ways too. We all know what universal serial bus is. Satellite, RFID. Anybody want to find that one for us?
One of the security codes in the car scanners for inventory of stores.
Radio frequency identification. I used that in a couple of warehouse shipping jobs that I had with RFID meters, and it makes inventorying really quick to hold that meter up and read the barcode tag. I'm sure you've probably seen some examples of it. Near field communications next, we're looking at just a little bit more, and Bluetooth. Let's look at some of the examples of how the NFC is used. At the top we have identification on a ID tag that you would wear, time and pin that you may use instead of the old punch clock card, just hold that up. Physical access into a building or secure PC log on. If you've ever went to the doctor, you see the little cards in your PC there to give them access, and probably a lot more government positions and things like that. You may use it to get on the bus, or to make anybody use it to make a cashless payment. How you use that? I don't. James does. Apologize for pulling my glasses on and off. I can't see what's in front of me without them on. I can't see you unless I take them off. Anybody think of any other examples? But let's look at some of the risks. Can you imagine any risk of using this type of technology on your phone? Or we'll look at a couple of them. Eavesdropping, unencrypted NFC communication between the device and terminal can be intercepted and viewed. Can anybody offer a solution that helps secure that? Because an attacker must be extremely close, users should be aware of their surroundings when making a payment. When somebody over your shoulder right behind you. I hate it at Walmart. I'm making a payment, just sliding my card and somebody's right behind me. Stay back. Data theft. Attackers can bump a portable reader to a user's smartphone in a crowd to make an NFC connection and steal payment information stored on the phone. I imagine that's a pretty common attack that people try to pull off, wouldn't you? Anybody know how you could help prevent that? turn off.
Stay aware of your surroundings or even just turn off the connection.
Perfect, that's perfect, that's exactly what you do. A man in the middle attack is where an attacker intercepts the communications between the device and forge a fictitious response. That's where somebody gets in the middle of the two devices communicating and intercepts it and sends a response back to one that they've made up. It can be very dangerous. And how can we do that? How can we help prevent that? To be honest, I wouldn't really know how to go. I've never used this, but you would configure one of the devices to send only and one of the devices to transmit only and help avoid man-to-man attack. And then there's theft. If somebody steals your device, you would have that on, if you have that on your phone or your device, how could you protect that risk? Anybody?
Authentication,
I didn't hear
password protection.
password protection, or maybe multi-factor authentication to get in that phone, James?
Yeah, and then of course having your phone set to where you can wipe it directly.
Remote wipe, yeah, you all, if you have, I don't keep anything important on mine, but if you have important data on your phone, you always need to be prepared if you lose it or if it's stolen. Now let's look at Bluetooth, some of the attacks that can occur on Bluetooth. Bluejacking. Anybody know what bluejacking is? It's not really a serious thing, it's more of a prank. But it'll lead us to blue snarfing, which is, give us maybe a little insight into that. And does anybody know how to bluejack somebody else's phone? How it's done? I'll show you a little video. Learn how to bluejack. Just a short 2-minute video. You might have to watch an ad first. No, escape that. I love the music. Blocked out some of that last message. It said to look for the shock on your face and see your message that you sent to him. Professor Messer says to send a message. I'm taking over this phone. That would scare me a little bit. Does everybody know how to bluejack a phone now? Okay, next we'll look at blue snarfing, which is a little more serious and also illegal. So I won't show you how to do that. Does anybody know how to do it? Before 2003, there was a vulnerability in this protocol, and 2 men discovered it. I'm sorry I didn't write their names down. And it was patched way back then. It still can be done. And it's an attack that you get unauthorized access and try to basically steal somebody's data. Between the by connecting to their USB. The Bluetooth. They can get your calendar, contacts, emails, pictures, videos, anything you have on that device. And it can still be done today. Does anybody know how it might be done? I know the Kali Linux, there is a Blue Snarf feature on that, program on that. So I imagine it'd be way more difficult than it was at first. So that's two wireless security risk. And networks used to be, I remember back in the 90s, I worked in an office and there was no wireless access, it was all wired. And there's just, in a traditional wired network, there's just basically one access point into your network, and that incoming data hits your firewall and then to your gateway and into your network. So, but nowadays, we all know that we have wireless access. In a traditional wired network, you have what's called hard edges. As I just explained, the first one, your firewall, and that one way into your network. There may be more than one, typically one. And then the other hard edge would be the physical building to keep people unauthorized access to your computers and your network. But when you enter in wireless access, now you have blurred edges. You have multiple entry points and brand new challenges, and very difficult ones too, to keep attackers out, and keep your network secure. And there's several attacks categories. I just want to look at a couple of them real quick. But that's one's called rogue access point. That might be where sometimes this can be an employee maybe that doesn't realize what they're doing. They actually bring, there's been examples, situations where an employee will actually bring an access point to work with them because maybe they're getting weak signal and tired of fooling with it, and have access right there with them into the network. Of course, that can be done maliciously too. And that's called a rogue access. Somebody bringing an access point that's not authorized into a network. It's very possible to do that. And you can even configure your laptop and maybe even phone apps, I'm not really sure, and turn your computer into an access point. There are programs that you can do that. Microsoft has one. I wrote it down. Let's see if I can find that. Yeah, there's what's called a wireless hosted network function in Microsoft. You could actually turn your computer into an access point. Now, does anybody know how you would go about finding a rogue access point? I didn't hear it, James.
Just have to search for the networks that are broadcasting.
Search there are probes that you can run. Let me see if I can get over here to find them. Once it's detected with a probe, I lost it. Excuse me just a second. Well, I lost the types of probes. There are programs that you can run that will probe the network, looking for them, looking for rogue access points. One is a dedicated, it runs constantly. One and others that you can run from your computer. And they look for a rogue access point and check my notes. Once a suspicious wireless signal is detected by a wireless probe, the information is sent to a centralized database where Wireless LAN Management System software compares it to a list of approved APs Any device not on the list is considered a rogue AP, and the wireless management system can instruct the switch to disable the port to which the rogue AP is connected, thus severing its connection to the wired network. I imagine they go looking for it physically too. Another attack is called an evil twin attack. Anybody know what that is? That's where maybe you could pick up the wireless signal, say outside the building, somebody outside the building sitting in their car or whatever, and they configure an access point and use the same SSID broadcast name to trick people into connecting to their access point instead of the authorized access point on the network. And that, the two ladies there, that was actually one of the Dateline kind of things where one of those sisters was hardworking and did everything right and studied, and the other didn't like to do that, so conspired to knock her off. I watched those Dateline 48-hour things. My advice is don't be one of those people who light up a room when you walk into it, and don't live in a small town where nobody locks the doors, because that seems to be the common properties of the victim of those shows. Anybody else watch those? No. Did anybody ever watch The Office? I loved that show. I hated it. None of my friends watched it. I was the only one. Yet it was very, very popular. I'm like, wow, nobody watches that. Let's look at some of the common ways, the most common basic ways to secure a Wi-Fi network. Turn off the broadcast, SSID broadcast. That won't prevent attacker from finding it. It will help a little bit. Configuring MAC filtering. Anybody know what that is? James.
Where you set it up where it only recognizes the MAC addresses of the devices you want on the network?
Right. If you're trying to connect with a device that's not on that list of MAC addresses, it won't accept it. Reduce the emanation by using the appropriate signal power levels and understanding antenna placement. That's something that's very important. You don't want to broadcast your Wi-Fi signal down the street, do you? And I don't know much about Faraday cages, but you can use that in some really high-risk situations. I've got one example. This science lab in Australia is totally wrapped in a Faraday cage. So they must have some real sensitive data. They don't want to get out. You probably used a type of Faraday cage today already. Anybody guess what that might be? I know I use them all the time.
ESD protection, electrostatic discharge protection.
Well, yeah, that's a type. But more common, household. Anybody think of something in their house that would be using this technology?
Microwave.
Microwave. You ever notice the mesh on the door? That keeps that microwave from escaping. You want to keep the ideal with Faraday cages to keep the signal contained and not let it emanate. Let's look at how you would secure, another common way you would secure your wireless devices. The network encryption that you could use on a phone or device. You have the WEP, wireless encryption protocol. WPA, the wireless I'm forgetting. Protected access, wireless protected access, PSK, based on the TKIP protocol, the WPA2, based on the AES protocol, and pre-shared key, WA2 to Enterprise. Now, anybody know anything about those? Which is more secure?
WPA2,
Yeah, WPA2 pre-shared key with the AES encryption protocol, and the Enterprise would be for your Enterprise network. The WEP, the wireless encryption program, is not very good. There may be some time when you would want to set a device up on the WEP. Anybody know? Maybe an older device that can't run WPA2. But you'll be learning a lot more about that. And as you study Wi-Fi security, you learn ways to harden your access points, harden the wireless networks, and to configure wireless intrusion prevention with a wireless controller. And also, if you're in an enterprise and you want to give guest access, then you would need to learn how to configure a captive portal. Anybody know what that is? If you've ever went on a public wireless network, like at McDonald's or something like that, and you try to connect, they bring up a page, and you have usually an agreement you have to accept before you can connect to it. And as a network security administrator, you would have to set that up. And we did that in one of the labs. It was pretty interesting. Moving right on. And there are some authentication options that you would need for your wireless networks. You have the open authentication that you just need a MAC address to, that we already talked about, to connect to the network. The pre-shared key authentication that you configure on your access point, and the 802.1x authentication. It requires usernames and passwords, certificates or devices, such as smart cards, to authenticate to the wireless clients to make it more secure. You don't want to just anybody connect to your network, do you? You want some authentication methods. And who would like to take a shot at which one of those is the highest restriction level and the lowest? Anybody? I have them in reverse order there for highest to lowest. So the 802.1x would be the better option. Now let's look at some mobile device security considerations. A lot of people today bring devices, their own phones, with them to use on the network. Can anybody imagine any challenges that an enterprise would have there? We'll look at some of them, but there will be a lot. And there are that BYOD means bring your own device, your device that you select and choose, and you can see the categories there under devices. Who chooses the device? Under bring your own device, well, you would make that choice. CYOD is choose your own device. That's an option where the company offers you a device to choose from. And then who purchased the device, what device can be used, which operating system, who supports the device, and where can the device be used. Now, if you bring your own device, you have different options than if you choose your own device, where the IT department would control the access. But can you imagine how difficult this would be in an enterprise with thousands of employees that are bringing hundreds of different kinds of devices, laptops, tablets, and phones to connect to their network, to work at home, or whatever. Can you imagine that? And there's more categories than just bring your own device or choose your own device. In your handout, you have some more categories. They are corporate-owned, personally enabled code, choose your own device, virtual desktop infrastructure, and corporate-owned. And at the bottom, you can look at this in your own time, I guess. You see some of the benefits and some of the management benefits, company benefits, you have the enterprise benefits, and some of the benefits that you could enjoy under one of these policies. We'll look at some considerations. There's a list. Mobile device security considerations include, I'll read just a couple of them, the management of the content on the drive, the ability to wipe it if you lose it. If you've got a device that can connect to the network and you lose it, that would be a major security risk. So, IT department will want to wipe that phone. And maybe be able to delete their data and their access, but not your personal if it's yours. So that's even more complex. Locking the device to a particular geographical area. They may have a policy where you can only access the network within the premises, within a certain premises. Notification services, push notification service, storing and managing passwords to networks and websites, biometrics and full device encryption. There's a lot, and the list goes on. There's a lot of considerations when an enterprise has to develop a policy of how they're going to let mobile devices connect to the network and access the resources and data. Jailbreaking the phone, custom firmware, unlocking, carrier unlocking, the ability to use different mobile carrier networks, using the camera, text messaging, on and on, goes on and on. So they have a lot to consider. If you were working in this field, you would have a big job in a big enterprise, wouldn't you? So there is a tool that can make it a lot easier for security administrators called mobile device management. They can manage remotely, connect your company phone or even your private phone with the software tools, and even send messages to you and manage that phone just like they would a desktop, maybe on the network, because you can't put wireless devices in an Active Directory or a group policy. It can't be managed that way, but it can be managed with this software. And one example of it is Windows Enterprise Mobility Management with Intune. You can enroll all of your wireless devices, mobile devices, in this program and make it set the settings and configure the settings how you want your wireless devices to be utilized in the business. That way, if you're an employee and you have your own phone, and there's a policy called separation, where it's easy to, with these tools, to separate your personal use and your personal data from the business side of that phone, even if it's your own personal phone. And it's cloud-based. I think they run this through Azure, Windows Azure. You can learn about that if you don't already know. And it can be managed with a lot more efficiency and a lot less trouble. So if you get a chance to take a look at that, it'll be very interesting to you. Anybody can comment about that? Anything there? I think that even if you don't go into security, having a good knowledge base of wireless security is going to be very important in your career, and you'll get to it eventually, I'm sure. Okay. Whole new can of worms. It's the Internet of Things. A growing trend. Things are being connected to the internet, and I don't know, anybody have an example of that? I read one example where your washing machine automatically order detergent when it run low, and things like that. But there'll be more devices in your home, out in the public, will be connected to the Internet of Things. And I read a little about that. And I'm going to show you one more video if you've got time. I'm running a little over. I don't know who said this, I couldn't find it, but I thought it was interesting. Can't say I'm looking forward to patching firewalls on my light bulbs and doorbells. And again, probably won't even be given the option. Let me show you one more video. And as you watch this, try to imagine that you are at the end. This is a news clip, and at the end of it, sometimes you see a news clip, and they'll bring on an expert to comment about it. So imagine as you watch this video that the reporter, the CBS News reporter, is going to interview for your input on what happened here. I actually saw this in the news too.
Approached the baby's room and stood outside. I was shocked to hear a deep, manly voice talking to my 7-month-old son, my blood grandpa.
Arjun Su was standing outside his son Oliver's door Sunday when he heard that voice. He burst in, the voice stopped. He and his wife chalked it up to baby monitor interference. But once downstairs,
And I was standing right about here.
they heard the voice again.
Who is this?
An unseen intruder talking to them through their Nest security camera, using obscenities, including the N-word.
Asking me, why I'm looking at him because he saw obviously that I was looking back, and continuing to taunt me.
It was terrifying. Sue says once his shock subsided, he composed himself enough to record part of the ominous exchange.
What's that?
Sue believes the hacker also turned their upstairs thermostat to 90 degrees, noticing that the same night. A potential danger to their baby.
And then they mess with our thermostat? Why? Who does that? Again, who does that?
The suits unplugged their interior cameras, called police, and soon after, Nest itself.
And then they said, well, you should have used a unique password and two-factor authentication, and if you did, that would be that.
Sue's been using Nest for years, sinking thousands of dollars into the system to help secure his home.
5 outside, 6 outside, 7 outside.
He now questions Nest security.
And that's why when I called Nest and I said, how long has this been going on for? How long is someone going to be watching us? We can't tell you, we don't have the logs.
Extremely disturbing, he says, considering there are cameras all over their home, with no indication someone outside might be watching, except on 2 cameras, where a blue light clicks on when someone talks.
Until they actually communicate with you, they could be in here watching as we are doing right now, and there is no difference. You can't tell.
Sue says his trust in Nest is shattered. He wants to return the system. Nest refused.
What I'm truly upset about, other than the obvious, is that it seems like the executive leadership at Nest fell asleep at the wheel.
Sue and his wife Jessica say they were unaware double-factor authentication was even available, having never received any information. We reached out to Nest tonight, but have not received a response. In the newsroom, Dana Kozlov, CBS 2 News. Erica?
Understandably terrifying.
Yeah.
Thank you.
So I see a lot of problems there, can't you? So now the reporter brings you on. What's your comment about this? Anybody want to take a shot at that?
My thought is, depending on if that was set up by the company in their home, I would think the technician would come out and install all of that, so the company should have gone over more security features and especially having just the actual password and that would be not even, multi-factor authentication. Most people aren't going to be familiar with or want to bother with that. But, just putting a more secure password and being aware, the technician should have gone through the full setup with that client.
Right, the installer gave them no instructions, for one. And whether it's their responsibility or not, I don't know. Yeah, Jim.
What would be worse is if somebody actually hacked your car.
Yeah, well, yeah, in my last presentation, I showed that card was hacked. It was done as an experiment. But calling the police, I mean, that was my first thing. What was the point of that? The installer, the company, Nest was not making sure, obviously, and that their customers weren't aware that they needed to secure that with multi-factor authentication. They said we weren't aware, evidently. They say they didn't get any information on it, but they got no paperwork without that in there, so they didn't bother themselves to check into that. They have a security system put in, but they don't know how to security, they're not being instructed in it. The company's response was, well, you know, we have it, we don't want to comment. That probably wasn't good on national TV. I mean, they probably lost a lot of business there. But there was just all kinds of dropping the ball there, don't you think? Okay. Well, I thought it was very, very interesting because we have a security system that is actually not a security system. It's actually a vulnerability in somebody's home because it's not secured. Multi-factor authentication. Anyway, I might have run over, apologize. That concludes the presentation. Anybody, any comments or questions? So I'll get back to the page. Thank you for your attention.